welcome to Salty Vibes. Today I'm just gonna ramble. So I can't remember my first podcast if I said I got this idea, this dream a few weeks ago, which goes all the way back like 2 years ago. I went through life coaching certification and trauma grief coaching after I had done that to kind of help me heal and get through the after pain and grief of my divorce and all that. And one of my strengths we had talked about in our certification was doing a podcast, like YouTube video and stuff. And I've tried the YouTube and I did it for my real estate and I'll set it up and then I just don't even do anything with it. I had a blog and I'll start something and then I won't finish it. I'll just get distracted or I'll find something else to do. And then I got into real estate and that kind of has been taking most of my last year and a half because I needed to get through my mentorship, and I just finalized my mentorship the end of November, and it's dead right now. I have a couple buyers clients in real estate, but no listings. It's, December. Things that I thought were going to work out didn't pan out. And so I am using this time because I woke up, I think 4 weeks ago, and I heard the small voice and it said, start a podcast. And I'm like, I'm too scared to start a podcast. What do I talk about? What do I even do? And I researched it, how to start one, what to do. And then I'm like, And then I kept getting all these things like podcast, start a podcast, take a class. So I looked up the different styles of podcasts. My friend and I had talked about doing one. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do one. And I'm going to start scrappy. And I'm going to do a commentary style. And then I can have guests on here if I want or whatever. And a lot of it's going to be about healing that I've done. It's going to be about coaching, trauma grief coaching, just stuff like that. And so today I'm just rambling because I'm thinking about how I got to here. Now this is my 5th recording, and every week I'm kind of oh, because right now I'm just doing weekly. I'm like, what do I talk about? This is freaking me out. I don't know what to say. I don't know, what to talk about. And then I pray about it because I grew up in faith, and faith has been one of my strongest things. And spirituality is very important to me. So I feel God spoke to me in my early morning slumber of start a podcast. And so I'm, you know what, just going to do it. If anything comes of it, amazing. If nothing, then it was just a silly voice that popped in my head. But usually when I listen to what I'm supposed to do, I feel like I get spoken to sometimes with different signs or things that I see. And this is one of them. So here I am rambling, and I don't know, how many of you go by maybe a still small voice or a sign, or maybe you were on the internet and you were thinking about something, then all of a sudden all these 50 million rules pop up, and we think, oh no, they're reading our minds. Sometimes I just take that as a sign, something showing us that we're supposed to do what's been on our mind for months and months and months, or in my case, years, and actually do it. So here I am, and I don't know, I want to have lots of different talks and want to talk about different things, but I guess today is kind of just be randomness. It's going to be signs. I've had a lot of different signs coming up for certain stuff going on in my life right now. And the other day I did on my 5-year anniversary since I decided to separate from my marriage, my long-term marriage. I was married for 21 years at the time that I decided to leave that marriage. And it was a really difficult decision. And the healing's taken me a lot longer than I thought. I guess when you're in a long-term marriage, I'd been with him since I was 17. So when you're with someone that long and, you have things where you lose trust, like infidelity and stuff like that, it can take a really long time to heal. And I want to give grace to people that have gone through it because, and I think, oh, I should be over it by now, but I also have to give grace to myself. And I'm getting to that mark now where they say that you start feeling more yourself, you feel, and I think the last 2 years since I moved really have been teaching me, growing me, trusting myself and God, believing in myself, trying to do this whole new life a different way, giving myself permission for things that I didn't give myself permission to do or feel or say. When you're married to someone who's can be controlling or opinionated, sometimes you lose yourself in that, because you don't want to ruffle feathers, you're tired of arguments or whatever, so you lose yourself. And I think that both for him and I was this, divorce was the best thing, because I'm one that will just keep taking whatever and I'll suffer with it, and I want to see the good in everybody, and I'll let things slide, and I don't want conflict. And so I think that we both have grown in a lot of ways since the divorce happened. And so now I go by, listen to my heart. I listen to my, if something feels off or doesn't feel right, I have to trust it, that I know. And sometimes I don't trust myself. Sometimes I think, oh man, I don't know, like that feels off, but maybe it's just me overthinking it. For a long time, everything was red flag, because you learn about red flags and you learn about like what to watch for. And so everything's a red flag, everything, certain tone or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so I had to learn to balance that out. And I've gotten a lot better this year that not everything's a red flag, but for about 2 years, everything was a red flag. Everything I couldn't trust. I kind of had this negativity toward men, which is horrible because I'm an amazing dad. I have brothers and I have boys and they're all great men. I have uncles, I have good men in my life, like really good, solid men. But I was kind of putting men in a box saying, oh, men aren't good, because of being in a bad marriage. I kind of just put this like label on, like all men are bad. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, this is totally not true. Because if that was the case, the super important people in your life would be bad. And so I made a list of all the good men in my life from a suggestion from a friend. And I started to realize like how hurt men are, how much they carry on them. And I think, even with my ex-husband, there was a lot of hurt that he never dealt with. And that was probably part of the problem. We were so young when we got married. And there's things he didn't deal with. When you're with someone like me who just kind of lets you get away with whatever, you kind of think, oh, well, I don't need to change and I don't need to grow. And that was kind of his statement. Well, I'm just the way I am. I'm like, no, people can change, people can grow. And there's still people who think that, like, oh, well, you can't grow, you can't change. But I disagree with that. I've seen so many people in my life who've gone through hardships, who've gone through, tough times. And yes, it can derail you from healing. It can derail you from life, and maybe you get into substance abuse or stuff like that. But so many people that I know and love have come out through the other side. And so you can change. You can get better if you want to. The person has to be willing to do it. They have to be, in that mindset, and not everybody's there. Some people just like to play victim and stay stagnant and just be like, like my ex would always say, I'm just the way I am. This is how I am. I'm broken. And it's like, I disagree. So, but for a long time, I would say that. And my life coach would be like, no, you need to change your words. I was very negative. I used a lot of negative words, and I lived in a very negative home for a lot of time. Negativity was a lot of how we lived. We lived in fear. We lived in negativity. We lived in scarcity. Even though we had a lot, it was like nothing was ever enough. Perfectionism. And so I live in this different mindset now where I try to keep more of an open mind. But sometimes it makes me feel crazy because I have all these differing thoughts than what I believed when I grew up. Just things that maybe I learned in the church or from school or from friends, whatever, family members. And then you kind of mold yourself into that, and you get different, you go through something tragic, like trauma from a divorce and infidelity and emotional abuse, anything of that sort, or childhood trauma, or anything that somebody's gone through that has been a bad thing that has changed their life or brought them in a direction where they maybe realized they need healing. I think that, it definitely affects people in different ways, and we have to change the way we speak. We have to change the way we speak to ourselves. We have to change the words, the way that the things that come out of our mouth. We have to change our thoughts. And a lot of times that is like being grateful, like thinking about, cheesy stuff, but like 3 things you're grateful for every day. And I would always do that with my kids. Like when we would start to feel super negative about something, I'm like, okay, what are 3 things we're grateful for? And another thing we started after my divorce, was we did a fun jar. So there's an author, speaker, Annie Downs, she writes books and stuff, and one of them was Chase the Fun. So I bought the book, and we made this jar, and we would write down like all the fun things that we were going to do within the next couple years, and we wanted to try to fulfill as many as we could. And some of it was silly, like have an ice cream party, or we had a Halloween dress up party. We would just do all these things, go to Chena Hot Springs. And then it became traditions. After I was divorced, I did a lot of adventures with my kids. And I still am living in that. Like, I want to try to say yes to as many. If I get invited to go, I got invited to go to Costa Rica last year. I said yes. I had the opportunity to do it. I had the money. Why not? And it was an amazing experience. And this year I had to take my kids to a different part of Costa Rica, and we're going to have our own family trip together because the 4 of us haven't done one, just us, like that. Like we did stuff in Alaska, and then they've been down to visit me in my hometown where I live now. But I think just chasing the fun, find something to look forward to, especially when it's winter and it's kind of bleak and you're like, oh, I don't have anything to look forward to. Find something, fun to do. The other day, my daughter, she wants to make this yearly thing. She did a Christmas brunch at her house, and her and I went shopping, and we did this fun saran wrap ball game. We wrapped all these little prizes in it, and then you have to roll this dice, and then whatever falls out during that roll before the other person gets their double roll, that person gets the prizes. And we had gift cards in there, and nail polish and face masks, and just fun stuff like that. But it was a fun thing that we did, and it was something to look forward to. And we had little goodies, and we had, we did a white elephant gift exchange. So I think it's just finding stuff like that to help you, because sometimes life is hard, sometimes life is bleak, and it's being grateful. It's finding fun things to do. It's chasing the fun. It's just looking at life in a different way to love it more. We're only here for a short amount of time on this earth. And if we live in negativity, if we live in scarcity, and we don't grow, and we don't be better, and we don't look at another person's perspective, we don't, think, okay, well, they believe this way for this reason. It opens our heart more the more we open our mind and we don't stay closed off in a box. And I think it's very good to stay with our values and our standards and beliefs. It's very good to have that, but we can also respect the other person in a very loving way, because my belief system, that's what Jesus would do. My heart and my goal is to try to be love like Jesus. And it's really hard sometimes, but anyways, it's just my rambling thoughts today. I'll be back again for next week's podcast. And I hope everybody has a great day. Think about some ways that you can be grateful. Think about some ways you can chase the fun. Check out that book. You can find it on Amazon. I do plan to do some book recommendations. I will leave my links below. You can follow me. You can, if you would love life coaching or you want to do trauma grief coaching, I'll put in the links for those below. I am certified in both. You can follow my Instagram page and subscribe to my podcast. And I hope that each week, as I learn how to do this and I figure out what the heck I'm doing, I don't know if I ever will, I hope that it can be more beneficial. I hope that I have tips and things that help you in getting to you to the other side. And each week I'm going to try to grow and be better at this. So thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing, and have a great week.